Good morning to the Honorable Ministers of the Council, members of the media, online viewers, radio listeners via St. Martin Gov Radio 107.9 FM and respective radio stations island-wide. I'm Rolika Roach and welcome to the live Council of Ministers press briefing for today, Wednesday, October 7th, 2020. At this time, I would like to invite the Minister of Public Housing, Spatial Planning, Environment and Infrastructure, the Honorable Egbert Duran, to address you. Minister Duran, you have the floor.
Good morning, Honorable Prime Minister, colleague ministers, Ms. Roach, members of the media, and a special good morning to the people of St. Martin. Today, I wish to update you with the following 2 points. I would like to announce that the main landfill as well as the Irma landfill will be open on Monday, October 12th from 6 a.m. to 12 p.m. The adjusted hours are in respect to the celebration of Constitution Day. Regular operations will resume on Tuesday, October 13th. I encourage everyone to take note of the temporary change of the hours in respect to our national holiday, and I apologize for any inconvenience that this may cause. Pertaining to the Alegria request for water rights, water parcel, I would like to inform the general public that on Tuesday, October 6th, I have denied this request. As basis for their request, Alegria desire to develop their project by expanding on parcels of land previously allotted with said water parcel. While I can understand Alegria's wish to have requested water parcel granted to them, I made a decision that was in the best interest of country St. Martin. Based on advices from experts on the Ministry of Romy, as well as external advice and comments, including those made by the Nature Foundation. My decision on the request of Alegria is an administrative one, and country St. Martin has stated in a previous injunction case filed by Alegria that is in the opinion that Alegria presented the administrative matter to the wrong court by filing a civil injunction case. This matter is still in appeal, and as requested, we have requested to suspend the working of the injunction case of September 4, 2020. The decision given by the injunction judge is a temporary one based on Alegria's position that country St. Martin agreed with the draft decision to grant them the requested rights to the water parcel. From the judge's decision, it is clear that neither the Secretary General of the Ministry of Romy nor the previous attorney representing government were authorized to entertain and agree to a settlement agreement on said draft decision. The decision of the injunction judge is a civil matter, does not deter me from my administrative right to make a decision on a pending request as was filed by Alegria for the water parcel. The reason behind the decision to deny the request has been communicated to Alegria in the meantime. Residents and tourists enjoy watching planes land at the Maho Beach. It is one of our main attractions, and it is therefore important to safeguard Maho Beach and all other beaches for that matter. It is indicated that there might be a potential damage to our beaches and our environment. I will have to go all out to avoid that. Being a representative of the people of St. Martin and Minister of Romy, it is my duty to weigh everything out before making decisions. The request would have been issued for 60 years. I cannot afford a potential wrong to happen to this because I won't be able to correct it in my lifetime. And by then, the damage would already be done. This matter is just one of many battles that I was faced as Minister of Romy, and is not the first, and it definitely will not be the last. However, I will continue to fight in the best interest of the people of St. Martin, as I was elected and eventually appointed to do so in this position. I cannot be fighting alongside my colleagues to protect our autonomy and give away our patrimony with the other hand. I would like to say God bless the people of St. Martin, and I look forward to any questions that members of the media might have. Thank you.
Thank you, Minister Duran, for your opening remarks. At this time, I would like to invite the Minister of Education, Culture, Youth and Sport, the Honorable Dr. Anders Graf Samuel, to address you. Minister Samuel, you have the floor.
Thank you, Ms. Roach. Good morning. Good morning, PM. Good morning to my colleague ministers. Good morning to the members of the media, and good morning to St. Martin. This morning in the press briefing, I would like to read for you a letter that I sent out to the stakeholders. And in this case, I mean the subsidized schools, all private schools, all division public education, and also to the parents regarding the continuity of education on St. Martin. And the letter reads, the Ministry of Education, Culture, Youth and Sports, in collaboration with the Ministry of Public Health, Social Development and Labor, has reviewed the local situation on St. Martin regarding the ongoing COVID-19 pandemic, as indicated in the letter of August 31st, 2020. As a result, you are hereby informed the following. On October 5th, 2020, the number of cases on St. Martin stands at 72. Although St. Martin is still experiencing community transmission, it is at a lower rate in comparison to 4 weeks ago. It is, however, important to note that in a meeting held with CPS on September 23rd, 2020, September 28, 2020, and October 5th, 2020, CPS has indicated that due to the reopening of bars, nightclubs on the 15th of September 2020, an increase in the window of testing from 3 to 5 for persons coming from abroad, as well as an increase in testing in which 50% of the persons tested are found to be positive, it is expected that there will be an increase in the active number of cases within the coming week. As a result, the Ministry of Education, Culture, Youth and Sports has been advised by CPS not to bring all the students back at the same time. Based on the current number of COVID-19 active cases in St. Martin, and due to the fact that the community transmission is still being experienced, as well as the forecast of CPS that an increase in cases is expected in the coming weeks, the Minister of Education, Culture, Youth and Sports advised the following, provided all health protocols are in place. I allow all exam students and special education students to return to in-class instructions starting as per the week of October 19th. Prepare to cater to vulnerable students to return to in-class instructions as per the week of October 26, 2020, and prepare to cater to all students as per November 16, 2020, using approach 3 of the Education Continuity Plan as a means to further roll out the return to in-class instructions. The phased implementation of face-to-face instruction outlined above will proceed alongside continuous dialogue between the Ministry of Education, Culture, Youth and Sports and the Ministry of Public Health, Social Development and Labor to ensure that all stakeholders are provided with timely information regarding the development related to infections rates in the community and more specifically in schools. So this letter went out yesterday, and it should have reached the school boards and all the parents. I thank you. And I await any questions.
Thank you, Minister Samuel, for your opening remarks. At this time, I would like to invite the Minister of Finance, the Honorable Arswell Edion, to address you. Minister Edion, you have the floor.
Good morning to you, Rolika, my fellow colleagues, the media, and to those viewing by all different forms of media. In light of World Savings Day on October 31st, the Central Bank Curacao St. Martin has launched their World Savings Day lectures that are aimed at primary school children, grades 4 and 5. These virtual lectures will teach money management skills to help prepare our children to be money smart when they do have funds of their own. This month, there will be a webinar focused on resilience for Investors Week with guest speakers from the island of Curacao and St. Martin. I think this is a positive and necessary initiative to better teach our young people, as opposed to have them figure out at a later age in life, especially when they're off to college. The Workforce Development Program has officially been launched. The Ministry of Finance teamed up with the St. Martin Development Fund to offer free courses to the public and civil servants via the website Coursera. The program offers courses in domains like business, technology, and personal development, and more. These courses provide in-demand skills employees want right now. Users should be able to take what they have learned and re-enter the workforce or get better at their current jobs. Over the weekend, we've had over 100 civil servants applied for the program, and I'm glad to see such a high interest in the program, and I'm hoping to see the momentum maintained throughout the rest of the year. We are hoping that through this program, we are effectively able to retrain, regain, and recover. If you or your friends and family members would like to join the program, you can do so via the SMDF. Please send a copy of your St. Martin issued ID to training@smdf.sx or WhatsApp 554-9764. This is done on a first come, first serve basis, so please do not wait and let's let this opportunity go. For more information, you can log on to the website srp.sx Workforce Development Program. There will be a tab on the website. In addition to that, it was stated a few weeks ago in one of our media houses that in October will be our last month for liquidity. I have since then addressed those concerns. As I've stated before, when the question was posed to me at that time, if with the income we had at the moment, without knowing the income that was supposed to come in, then October would have been our last month. Being cautious of this and aware of this, the government went into more cost-saving measures, measures that I've spoken about before. We've tightened up our belt further. We've within the Ministry of Finance, what we've started to do was basically conduct mini audits within every ministry where we could look and find out where we could cut more costs, but even more importantly, where we could generate more revenue. We've gone through this process with at least 3 ministries at the moment, and we will continue to do this. Having done this, we've seen our deadline extended beyond October in terms of government finances, and we've even seen an increase in certain areas where we had budgeted for less increase also. That'll be all for my updates today. Relaika, and I look forward to your questions.
Thank you, Minister Edion, for your opening remarks. At this time, I would like to invite the Minister of Public Health, Social Development and Labor, the Honorable Richard Panafleck, to address you. Minister Panafleck, you have the floor.
Thank you, Ms. Roach. Good morning to the Prime Minister, the members of the Council of Ministers, my colleagues, my members of media, and the people of St. Martin. As of yesterday, October 6th, only 3 additional persons have tested positive for COVID-19, bringing the total active cases to 75. The total number of confirmed cases now 689 persons. I am relieved to say that there are no COVID patients at the present moment in St. Martin Medical Center. The death number of COVID-related are still 22. Of the active cases, CPS are monitoring 74 people in home isolation. The number of people recovered since first case surfaced on St. Martin is 592. 183 people are in quarantine based on the contact tracing investigation. In efforts to further control the spread of the virus, CPS has tested 1,079 travelers arriving at Princess Juliana International Airport and 4,650 people throughout the community. I would sincerely like to thank the community for taking COVID-19 seriously. The sacrifices being made by wearing masks in public places, canceling mass gathering, and social distancing from your loved one is not easy and are not in vain. These are highly important as we are doing all we can to slow down the spread of the virus. The Ministry of VSA is also busy with the social aspects for the voucher program, and also with labor aspects, seeing that there are some indications that the employers are not adhering to the law how it's supposed to be. There are some cases pending that might be going to court so that we can have some court verdicts and continue forward with these cases. I would like to thank you for your attention, and if there's any questions, I will gladly answer them. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Minister Panafleck, for your opening remarks. At this time, I would like to invite the Prime Minister and Minister of General Affairs, the Honorable Sylvia Jacobs, to address you. Prime Minister Jacobs, you have the floor.
Thank you, Rolika. Good morning, and good morning to my colleague ministers, members of the press, to you, Ms. Roach, and of course to the listening and viewing public. And thank you all for joining us. Firstly, I'd like to go into some updates from the Ministry of General Affairs. We've been focused on effectuating change within the organization as a support system for the entire government apparatus, ensuring stability, and of course, strengthening the organization. So some of the things in that trend we have been focused on is ensuring that the cost-cutting measures that have been proposed are implemented and enforced so that we can remain viable. We are also working on ensuring that the critical functions that have been identified are being filled, and also what needs to be done from general affairs point of view relating to the function modes of the police as well as firefighters. We're also working on the reforms that government has proposed as priorities, assessing where we are with them, including policies and regulations and legislation that needs to be addressed. We've also been working on allocating the remaining funds under the trust fund together with the NRPB, but mainly as government, looking at priority projects to be able to continue to support resiliency on St. Martin. And through our Department of Interior and Kingdom Relations, we are, of course, assessing other means by which we can fund or ensure that studies are carried out related to resiliency and recovery on St. Martin as part of the Resemble program, among others. The start of October 2020 has brought with it several celebrations, and I take the time out today to highlight that it is Breast Cancer Awareness Month, and that over the past week, we have been highlighting that as a government as well as individuals and organizations throughout St. Martin. We would like to highlight the awareness of this disease that has, awareness of it has done St. Martin and the world a lot of good. However, continued awareness and ensuring to be proactive will stop the disease in its tracks as well. Collective action remains the strongest impact for all those who have been diagnosed with the disease, and early detection, better screening, and increased awareness and treatment options have all aided in the decline over the past 3 years. I continue to wish all those who are still feeling the effects of having lost a loved one due to this disease, those that are going through the process together with their families at the moment as well, much strength, and we are standing strong with you as you battle this disease, and pray for your full recovery and strength of your family to sustain you. I admonish and ask all of us, remember it's not a female thing. Get yourself checked, be safe, and continue to practice proactive treatment. Another celebration that has come about in the month of October is that of World Teachers Day. On October 5th, which was on Monday, we celebrate World Teachers Day, and we are internationally recognized the role they play in the development of children and youth, and even adults, as learners of all ages is what we promote. As an educator myself for over 20 years, I know firsthand the joy and elation that teachers feel when the light goes on for a child, especially one who has been struggling. To see the joy on that child's face gives you all the pay that you need. Well, of course, not in reality, but it's such a gratifying moment that you continue to do it throughout all the challenges that we face. I'd like to take the time to thank and congratulate all our dedicated educators, past, current, and future, especially as the community at large now has an even greater understanding of the all-encompassing task you carry out daily in the enlightenment of our students and assisting them to grow to their highest potential. Congratulations to all educators. Public's Post Office, the Postal Services of St. Martin, is also celebrating their 10th anniversary tomorrow, Thursday, on October 8th. And as they continue to innovate and find new means of generating business, they will be launching a new service to the community of St. Martin as well tomorrow. So I take the time out to wish the Postal Services and all their employees, management staff, a happy 10th anniversary in advance. Though the Justice Minister isn't here, I know she had intentions to also ensure that we knew that Police Week will be starting as of Saturday as well. And so I wish advance congratulations to the police force and prison workers as they celebrate also their 10th anniversary. As we all know, October 10th is the commemoration of the anniversary of Constitution Day, which started on 10/10/10. So this Saturday will mark the 10th anniversary of Constitution Day and the 10th year as one of the countries within the kingdom under the new theme, Decadal Growth and Progress. A series of events will be broadcasted as a result of the commemoration, which would start on the 10th with a live national address by His Excellency Eugene Holiday. You can tune in to our Facebook pages as well as to the radio station for that address. Further, the events will continue on the official holiday, which will be on Monday, October 12th, with a virtual commemoration, which will feature addresses by His Excellency Governor Holiday, myself, as well as the Honorable Chairman of Parliament, Mr. Rolando Bryson. It will also feature reflection interviews of key persons who contributed to St. Martin achieving its country status, as well as cultural performances by the St. Martin creative community. The last part of that those specific events in commemoration of our anniversary of separate status within the Kingdom of the Netherlands will be a solemn parliamentary meeting, public meeting of Parliament, which will follow our virtual celebration. This is all on October 12th. So you can join us virtually online to be able to take part in this historical celebration, commemoration of 10 years of country status within the Kingdom of the Netherlands. As we progress through October, there will be several opportunities for dialogue within the community. I believe that will be forthcoming in terms of presentation to the population as to when you can participate in these various events. The University of St. Martin is also playing a large role in that, and I look forward to the dialogue discussions that will come forth as a result of us reflecting on the 10 years of separate status. I'd like to congratulate the people of St. Martin in advance and remind you, as did our Minister of Health, that we, in our efforts to become COVID-free, will continue to ask the community of St. Martin to keep themselves and their loved ones safe and continue to practice all of the necessary protocols as has been practiced over the past months. We are seeing that we have gotten it mere under control, but we'd like to see it go down. And so by our behavior in the public area as well as in our homes, we can do this. So I encourage you all to stay safe. Remember that we want to build this country. We need each and every one of us healthy and happy to be able to do so. Thank you for tuning in, and I look forward to any questions via the media.
Thank you, Prime Minister Jacobs, for your opening remarks. If you've just joined us, you are watching the live Council of Ministers press briefing for today, Wednesday, October 7, 2020. Thank you for joining us. We now move on to the question and answer session. The floor is open, and Lyndon Brown of BCN TV, you have the floor.
Good morning to the people of St. Martin and the ministers that are present here today. Question to Minister Duran from Minister of Roaming. Congratulations, Minister, for fighting for the people of St. Martin. Actually winning the water rights back to the people of St. Martin. But the question is, Minister, the airport, the people who are concerned about if there was a local company get the job or the contract to refurbish or to rebuild the airport. And can you give the name of the company, if it's a local company, a foreign company. Minister Loren.
Good morning once again to the people of St. Martin. Thank you very much for your question, Mr. Brown. Unfortunately, I won't be able to answer you with respect to who won the contract or who has the contract, because that is something that is between the NRPB and the PJIA. However, I can inquire with my colleague Minister of TIAT and get back to you in writing if you wish so. But I do not have any record in the Ministry of Rummy with respect to who has the contract to rebuild the airport. Thank you.
Thank you, Minister Duran. Thank you, Lyndon, for that question. I would now like to invite Andrew Dick of TV Carib. You have the floor. Andrew, if you can hear us, can you kindly unmute your mic, please? Okay, Andrew seems to be having some technical difficulties, so we'll come back to him. I would now like to invite Jeffrey, Dr. Sox Harkin of Island 92 Radio. You have the floor.
Good morning to everyone, and thank you for entertaining questions this week, as you do each week. I'd like to start with a question to the Minister of Finance, if I might. Minister, thank you so much. Your cabinet was able to send me the detailed report from the SOAB regarding their review of the St. Martin Stimulus and Relief Program. A couple questions as it relates to that program. First question is, this particular report only addressed the income and unemployment support programs, not the business payroll support program. Wondering if there's a similar report will be coming for payroll support. And then along those same lines, when will there have been where will July payroll support be funded from, given our current situation? And you also had indicated earlier that we're now liquid through further than October. What do your current estimates indicate? How liquid is the government and through what date? Thank you so much.
Thank you, Dr. Sock. And you're welcome for the document. The document is also now published on the SRP website for anyone else wanting the report. I believe your first question was related to payroll support audit. The payroll support audit will be conducted also separately by the SWAB. In addition to that, I believe the CFT also already indicated that there will be a second audit done by the BDO. This audit is I haven't gotten confirmation on when it will be concluded, but as soon as it is, I will again have it ready for the media and for the public. And again, it will be published on our website. In addition to that, I believe your second question was payroll support. It will be funded by the government again. And when it comes to our government liquidity, if we continue to take a step back, a lot of things that we are doing now in a very short period of time, I believe are things that had to be done over the years already. You know, I've heard comments about, yes, the phone policy had to be done already, or the gas and so forth. To me, it doesn't matter, and I don't believe the public cares either about what promises were made or what had to be done. I believe in execution. And at the end of the day, this government has executed these policies, which will see us not only save them in the next few months, but will see us saving in the next couple of years. Another aspect that we have started to finalize actually last week, the Minister of TIAT and myself, is to allocate and transfer a few departments to the now vacant BTP building next to the Chamber of Commerce. This building has about 7 floors. 3 floors are occupied by the BTP, 2 floors and the rooftop. and there are about 4 floors that have not been occupied for the last 7 years. We now are in the process of transferring at least 3 to 4 departments to the BTP building, which will be saving us approximately about $30,000 to $40,000 a month, which is close to $3 to $4 million within the last 7 years if that was done. Again, so right now we're busy speeding up things that had to be done. As I mentioned before, some of these processes may make certain people uncomfortable because of lack of accountability over the last few years. But we will, this is a government that believes in accountability, and we will be making the tough decisions, but the decisions that will be saving us money in the end. And we're also looking again at revenue generating measures. If you look at, for example, we had budgeted an amended budget for, I believe, domain affairs about 300,000 guilders. With the measures taken by the Minister of Rumi, and after we highlighted to him that there are two key areas where we need to see an increase in revenue, we've seen it increase from our estimated area of 300,000 to an increase now of 1 million guilders for the month of September. So if we continue along these lines, I do see us reaching further. In addition to that, the government of St. Martin, through the Ministry of Finance, we have put in a request to float a bond through the central bank, which should again see our liquidity extended and be able to invest in key areas where we can continue to invest in our people.
Thank you, Minister Edion. Thank you, Dr. Sock, for that question. I would now like to invite Andrew Dick of TV Carib. You have the floor. Andrew, we still cannot hear you, so I'm not sure if you're having some issues on your end. Okay, we'll be moving along. Judy Fitzpatrick of the Daily Herald, you have the floor.
Thank you very much, Rolika, and very good morning to all the ministers present and everyone in the forum. I have a follow-up question for Minister Edion based on what he just mentioned. Minister, can you indicate which 3 or 4 departments will be transferred to the BTP building? And regarding your comments about floating a bond, I believe the Central Bank of Curaçao and St. Martin had indicated recently that this is not an ideal idea. What is your position on this, on the CBCS's statements?
Your first question related to the move of departments. I've been in discussion with the Ministry of TIAT on departments. There will be at least 1 department from finance and 2 departments from TIAT. I don't know if she has confirmed which 2. I believe 1 would be the inspection department. And for the Ministry of Finance, we're looking at the loan salaries department, the salary department. In regards to the bond, I haven't seen the article that you're referring to, but at the end of the day, all of the funds that we need, it would be the Netherlands on the international market and the local market will come in the form of bonds, other than the regular government revenue.
Thank you, Minister Edion. Thank you for the question. I would like to inform the members of the media that Minister Panafleck now has to leave to attend his meeting at Parliament. I would now like to invite Andrew Dick of TV Carib. You have the floor.
Can you hear me now, Rolika?
Yes, Andrew, we can hear you. Go ahead.
Very good. Good morning. Once again, apologize for the technical difficulties. Prime Minister, just a direct question. Is there anybody being screened for...
Andrew, Prime Minister had to step away from her desk, so she should be back in about a minute or 2. So what we'll do, if you can direct your question, another question to another minister.
Yes, that's fine. Let's go with Minister Doran. What ramifications would we have if, well,
And
now that you did.
Andrew, I'm sorry once again. Unfortunately, Minister Duran is
I'm by
also
mid-fin.
up.
I had some
Oh,
technical
okay.
difficulties.
You can go ahead, Andrew.
It's a bad day. Yes, Minister Duran, just a quick question. Considering the ramifications of denying this particular request from Alegria, we are not so lucky when it comes to court cases, meaning that we lose a lot. Have you already studied the ramifications by denying this? Because I believe that the request was partially already approved by a previous minister. Can you just give us more details concerning this?
Sure. Thank you very much, Andrew Dick, for your question. Just to reiterate what I mentioned in the beginning and also part of our appeal is that this is a decision for the administrative court, which was handled as a civil injunction, which we believe is not the way that it should have been handled. So now the temporary civil injunction decision does not take away my administrative rights as Minister of Vromi. So that is the direction which we are going. Now to say that we're not so lucky in winning court cases, I am optimistic, and lucky or not, I'm not going to play with the patrimony with the people of St. Martin, and I will go all out in protecting what I feel deserves to be protected. So I'm optimistic about it, and hence the reason we are in appeal now, and I would say let's await the outcome. I hope that answers your question.
Thank you, Minister.
Thank you, Minister Duran. Thank you, Andrew, for your question. I would now like to invite Stephen Cirillan of PJD2 Radio. You have the floor.
Thank you, Mr. Roach. Good morning to you, Prime Minister, ministers, and my colleagues as well. My question is for the Minister of ECYS, Dr. Andreas Rudolph Samia. Minister, it stems from a question put to you last week as it pertains to the CXC results. How many students from St. Martin sat the Caribbean Advanced Proficiency Examinations, the Caribbean Secondary? Sorry? The Caribbean Examination Education Certificate, Minister. And what percentage of students successfully sat the exams?
Thank you, Stephen, for the question. Stephen, I remember that the question was asked last week, and I have requested the information and have also requested the Department of Exams to send the information so I can send it to you. And I don't know if it reached us yet. But as soon as that information reach in regards to how many students set exams and the percentage of persons pass, I will forward it to you.
Thank you, Minister Samuel, and thank you, Stephen, for the question. I would now like to invite Bibi Shaw of SMN News. You have the floor.
Hey, good morning, everyone. Good morning to my colleagues, ministers, Prime Minister. Rolika, I am having some severe issues with internet. I have two questions. I'm going to try to push them. I don't mind when they're answered, if it's second round, first round, on this round. My first question is to the Minister of Finance. Minister Irion, it has been weeks now, you're telling us that the discussion with the CFT continues, because I know that the Dutch is not bending anyway. You keep telling us, and today you said it a number of times, of all the cost-cutting measures that government are doing, which I do agree, government does have to cut costs. But where are we today with the CFT? Exactly where are we advancing? Is the Dutch going to bend? Will we get some money? And how much money you're asking for the bond? How much you want to float for the central bank? My other question is for Minister Doran. Minister Doran, the Alegria issue, can you specifically say if this is the first time the situation with Alegria is being handled by the Council of Ministers? Is this the first time? Is this the first denial, or was there a previous situation and then they moved to court? What led us to this situation?
Thank you, Ms. Shaw, for your question. The discussions with CFT happen on a weekly basis. We've been having meetings with them since, on a weekly basis, I believe, almost since March, since the pandemic began. Yes, according to them, actually, they are just advisors, so they're not decision makers. That's what was said this week, actually, by them. I believe that it's moving in a positive direction. But in the meantime, other than just looking for answers from CFTA, we have to do what we have to do as a government with what we can in the meantime. And that for me was tightening our belt in key areas. And again, like I mentioned before, revenue generating areas, look at those areas. But in addition to that, I believe that we have a lot of money out there already. I believe that when I look at I know that when I look at certain areas in government, when it comes to collection and so forth, we have millions out there that we haven't collected. Those are areas that we're also still focusing on. Minister Doran will be coming to answer your question.
Oh.
Thank you for your question, Bibi. However, the last part wasn't too clear. Can you please repeat?
I asked you about the situation with Alegria. Is this the first time the Council of Ministers or you as a minister took a decision in denying Alegria? If you know, was this discussed by former ministers, and what led us or Alegria filing a civil case against the government or against the Minister of Romy without a decision? Because I'm surprised that you're saying a decision was taken yesterday, yet we had a court case already. So can you put things in perspective for me? And the Minister of Finance, what I forget to ask him, and if you may allow me, about the collections, and he just mentioned it. When he was in Parliament, including Minister Doran and a whole lot others, there were lots of discussion about ERFAC land lease that is out there that people are not paying. Is government moving, especially the people who are in government and owe government money in land lease and are not paying up those leases? Thank you, Raika.
All right, thank you for your two-faced question, Bibi. I'll answer it in the order as posed. Again, no decision was ever made in terms of denial, or no official decision was ever made, so no slate was ever issued in terms of denial or approval for this particular case. Now, the civil injunction filed by Alegria at the time was to force the government to make a decision, but it was filed in a civil court injunction. Now, I still have administrative rights, and I believe it should have been handled in an administrative court. So I denied it on the administrative side of things. So that does not take away the power of the Minister of Romy to accept or deny. With respect to the question on FBAC, I mentioned it a couple of months ago, and the Minister of Finance alluded to it as well. One point in his opening remarks with respect to domain behavior, the expected income for last month was 300,000 guilders approximately. We ended up collecting almost 1.1 million guilders. So that is almost 3 times the amount. So we are working on it. We are looking to strengthen the departments in terms of collecting. As the minister just indicated as well, there's a lot of monies out there owed to government, and we are doing everything in our power and with the means and the tools that we have to collect on such. And with FPAC per se, and also with the Department of Permits, with expediting the permits and the processes and trying to collect on those as well. I hope that answers your question.
Thank you, Minister Doran, Minister Ion, as well as Bibi for the question. We now move on to the final of questions. Lyndon Brown, you have the floor.
Good morning again to the ministers. Question to the Minister of Finance, is he there? Rebecca?
Yes, Lyndon, he is.
Right, yeah. Minister of Finance, recently you mentioned about some dead bodies in government. Minister, you also mentioned about getting funds from government-owned companies. Can you explain about the dead bodies and the funds for liquidity to help the economy stabilize the economy of St. Martin from TLM and also SVB. And Minister, 2007 and 8, I can remember that there was some crisis in the economy of St. Martin, and Mr. Tweed then was part of the DP government, and he actually take away, in other words, funds from small businesses, people who are struggling, especially like people with Aman's Acts and so forth. He had take away, I think, 2 or 3 years from these vulnerable businesses. And so the question is, do you plan to do something like that for the businesses that are struggling? In so much, everybody needs money, government needs money, and
Minister Edion, can you?
There were a few questions. The first one regarded, I believe, a comment I made in reference to having dead bodies in government. It was a reference basically as we are trying to progress as a government, as ministers, and we are constantly finding stuff that was never handled, never finished. It was assumed that it was done and so forth, or the manner in which they were done. One point in case, the Alegria case, for example. And yes, in that case, I referenced that these are a lot of dead bodies we continue to dig up as we try to move forward. The other point, I believe, was a reference to Mr. Tuitt in 2007, 2008. And I also don't believe he was a DP commissioner. I think he was maybe SBA or National Alliance. I'll have to look into that matter and get back to you.
Thank you, Minister Edion. Thank you, Lyndon, for the question. I would now like to invite Jeffrey, Dr. Sock-Socken of Island 92 Radio. You have the floor.
Thank you, Erlika. I'd like to do a follow-up, if I might, with the Minister of Rami, Minister Doran. A couple weeks ago, we had spoken about a container that had appeared on Mullet Bay Beach. You had indicated back to us that there was no agreement in place for that particular portion of the beach for the proprietor to be using that location. Subsequently, the proprietor has indicated on social media that permits were in place. I had asked through your office for an update. I haven't heard anything. So what is it? Is the container and that location permissible? Is it not permissible? Because we're just trying to figure out what the truth is, what the real answer is. Might you be able to give us an update?
Thank you, Mr. Sock, for your question posed. I did receive your last email with respect to the container, but in the meantime, the container has moved. So I inquired since the first time. So I'm busy now with the Department of Inspection to cross-reference the coordinates that the container is currently at to determine if that is indeed the parcel that was issued in a rental agreement to a particular individual. So that is still being investigated, and we'll get back to you as soon as the answers are forthcoming. So there is a rental agreement. There are actually 3 rental agreements. The container was put in a particular spot. The spot where the container was definitely, it was not allowed. It was moved in the meantime, and is now to determine, based on the coordinates where it's at now, if they are allowed to be there in that particular spot. So the answers will be forthcoming as soon as they are available to me.
Thank you so much, Minister. I appreciate it.
Thank you, Minister Duran. Thank you, Dr. Sock, for the question. I would now like to invite Judy Fitzpatrick of the Daily Herald. You have the floor.
Thank you, Erlika. And my question is to Minister Edion. Minister, you mentioned earlier a little bit of good news as it relates to government's income. Does this mean that we would no longer be running out of funds at the end of October, as you had indicated to Parliament earlier? And can you indicate what is the current liquidity situation in government? How much funds do we currently have in our coffers? And what new areas have been identified for cost cutting and income generated? I mean, you mentioned a few minutes ago that we have a lot of money that is out there owed to government, millions, you said, that was not collected. Can you indicate where this money is, who has it, and what efforts are we making to collect it? And if I may also ask a question to Minister Doran. Minister, can you indicate what stage the process is at the moment for the appointment of a new managing board of GEBE, and what else needs to be done before this new board can go into effect? Thank you.
Thank you for your questions, Ms. Patrick. I will ask you to repeat a couple of them, I believe, because I missed one or two. Government liquidity, our liquidity position at the moment, as of last week, was, I believe, 60 million guilders. Will we run out of money end of October? No, that would not be the case. And I mentioned again, I was misquoted, I would say, that if the situation had remained as it was 2.5 months ago, then we would have run out of money end of October. No, that would not be the case at the moment. When I said about the millions that are out there, yes, we have a lot of money out there for domain. We have money out there for building permits. We have money out there for business licenses, in addition to regular tax. So yes, and we are actively working on these processes. I did have a meeting last week with the Ministry of TIAT, myself, Inspection Department of TIAT, the Business License Department of TIAT, and the SG of TIAT, where we will be expediting the process of, the ministry will be expediting the process of the business licenses. Also, they are actively working on the backlog of business licenses. There is at least 350,000 to 500,000 500,000 guilders of business licenses within the ministry that should be processed out within the next couple of weeks, hopefully between now and mid-November. And also to expedite the process for, believe it or not, we have persons that want to establish new businesses on the island. And my idea or vision is that for simple companies, this process should not take longer than 2 to 3 weeks. And especially when we have potentially new companies coming on board for the enterprise support project, we would like to have these companies within our society, within our system as soon as possible. Like I mentioned before, also the Ministry of VROMI have started the process of dealing with the AirPack and outstanding fees, and the minister has requested for us to put together a small team between the inspection department, the building permits department, and the tax department to form a team to work on the collection of building permits. And I hope I answered all your questions, Ms. Patrick. From me?
Thank you for your question, Ms. Fitzpatrick. Regarding the GB Management Board, the recruitment process started quite a couple months ago. It is now in the final stages. The selection took place already, and now the supervisory board is in contact with those candidates, and the screening process should commence as soon as possible. I hope that answers your question.
Thank you so much. Rolika, may I kindly address a follow-up to the Finance Minister?
Sure, Judy, go ahead.
Thank you. Minister Irian, thank you so much for your answers. You indicated that we currently have about 60 million in our coffers. How long would that last us? And thank you so much, Rolika.
Thank you for your question. We are busy now working on the forecasting, especially with all the things I just mentioned in terms of potential income and so forth. As soon as we have this forecast, this draft forecast ready, I'll be able to give further indication. But as I mentioned before, we are looking, if things remain positive, to extend possibly to the end of the year or longer. And in addition to that, we have put in a request to float a bond with the central bank. So I think that at the very least, those concerns of relative money for government should be put to side a little bit. In addition to that, I will say, we are still in discussions, as I mentioned, with the CFT. I believe that I've also had discussions with the Prime Minister. I know she's also sent documents to the Netherlands. So that process has never stopped. And we are working on all processes simultaneously.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Minister Idiom. Thank you, Judy, as well as Minister Duran for the question. I would now like to invite Andrew Dick of TV Carib. You have the floor.
Yes, morning again. Minister, is the Prime Minister back in Rolaica?
Yes, Andrew.
Okay. Prime Minister, while Minister Duran was talking about screening, something came to me right away to ask you a direct question concerning a possible change-up in the Council of Ministers. Any truth to this particular report?
I'm not sure what you're talking about, Mr. Dick. As we stand right now, the Council of Ministers is the Council of Ministers and no other process has been started.
Okay, so there's no plan. Just as a follow-up, like so there's no plan to change anything anytime soon in the Council of Ministers, Prime Minister. That's the direct question I asked.
Thank you, Mr. Dick. I don't know if you actually got the floor from Rolaica, but I believe I answered the question to the best of my ability. We have not taken any decision. I have not started any other processes.
Thank you, Prime Minister, and thank you, Andrew, for the question. I would now like to invite Steve Cerillion. You have the floor.
Thank you, Ms. Roach. My final question is for the Prime Minister responsible for General Affairs in the absence of the Minister of TIAT. Lately, Prime Minister, we have been seeing an increase in cruise ships activities at Port St. Martin. Can you provide some information, if you may, as to why the regular visits of those vessels? B, how is St. Martin benefiting from the arrival of those ships? And C, has a date been set or identified for the return of cruise ship passengers to the island?
Thank you, Stephen. Good day to you as well. The minister in previous press conferences has elucidated the constant flow of the cruise ships here at our port. As you know, St. Martin is a key hub function and has the ability to do the provisioning and bunkering necessary for the ships. So as the ships have to continue to move to maintain their engines in anticipation of the restart of the cruise industry in the post-COVID reality, they continue to move, and St. Martin benefits from it as the port then stands to make some funds from the bunkering and provisioning services that they provide for the crew. We've also been offering, I believe, the transition for crew to leave as we have the international airport for them to be able to go back to their countries of origin if the cruise ships have that request. So in those ways, we are still able to, via our airport and the harbor, still channel some much needed funds through the coffers of these two entities. But I believe the Minister of Economic Affairs has stated that over and beyond. I do not know what date yet the cruise industry will restart, but the Minister of TIAT is chairing a committee at the CARICOM level. I'm not sure the name of the committee at this moment, but has been appointed via our government, and she is the chair of that committee that is having the discussions with the other stakeholders as to the restart of the cruise industry within our region and how that will take place. So she would be the best person to update you on the restart of that part of our pillar within the tourism sector.
Thank you, Prime Minister Jacob, and thank you, Stephen, for the question. Final question, Bibi Shaw, you have the floor.
Thank you, Ralaika. I'll pose the question to the Minister of Romy, but at the same time, the Prime Minister can chip in. The Dutch have been demanding the 12.5% cut, not only for the civil service, but also for the government-owned companies. Now that there is a procedure in place to replace the management board of GEBE, will GEBE or government, the shareholder, instruct and say, listen, because of the stance of the Dutch and because of the lack of funds, that the 12.5 cut should go into effect? Has government had that kind of discussion? And where are we with the CEO for the harbor and the supervisory board for SZV? SZV doesn't have a supervisory board. Just yesterday, there's a court case, people swindling money out of SZV by selling cards. I mean, everybody saw what's in the newspaper. So I don't have to go over this, but when are we going to get a supervisory board for SZV? What's the status of the 12.5 for government-owned company that the Dutch is demanding? May I put that in clearly?
Prime Minister, would you like to begin as Minister Duran?
In general, I can answer the question very generally, Ms. Shaw, in the sense that the Council of Ministers, the rules and regulations for scheduling shareholders meeting, etc., have to be very strictly adhered to. And those where we've identified board members need to be appointed. There's still a procedure for that. And so the processes to fill any and all boards are ongoing. And we do have a couple of shareholders meetings scheduled for this month. I cannot go into the details as to which, but they are being planned for this month. And
Thank you, Prime Minister.
I was thinking what else was missing. As to the 12.5%, and I know that several people have been asking whether we as the elected and appointed officials have done our due or what has been done to ensure that we are paying in. That has been one of the first things that this government has done. And we have complied with the 25% cut there of our personnel package, and the one for the 12.5%. I believe the Minister of Finance would be better able to indicate how far we are with that, with the government-owned companies and others.
Thank you, Bibi. I think the Prime Minister answered your question. I don't know if that is enough or you still want a follow-up from my end. Your mic is on mute.
Sorry. Every bit of information comes, Minister. We are currently dealing with a situation of bringing in new members for GEBE. I mean, what would be a more appropriate time to say, listen, guys, this is what the Dutch demands, and we are going to implement or apply that 12.5%. Everybody, like the Prime Minister said, government already chip in their 25%, you know? What about the government-owned companies? Is it going to take place? Will you make this a point of discussion when appointing the management board of GEBE? That's what I'd like to know. Will it be a point of discussion? And like I asked for the Prime Minister about, and you and whoever else is there, where are we with the appointment of the CEO of the harbor? I mean, that publication was out, but everything then stops. You hear nothing about this again. So can you give us an update?
Sure, Bibi. And your question was, will it be a point of discussion with the shareholder and the supervisory board, yes, it will be a point of discussion.
Thank you, Minister Duran, and thank you, Bibi, for that question. Members of the media, this does bring us to the end of the question and answer session. Thank you for joining us this morning. The floor is now closed. Honorable Ministers of the Council, members of the media, radio listeners, and online viewers, this brings us to the end of the live Council of Ministers program for today, Wednesday, October 7, 2020. For rebroadcast, tune in to St. Martin Cable TV, channel 115, St. Martin Gov Radio 107.9 FM, the official Facebook page of the Government of St. Martin, and the YouTube channel Government of St. Martin. For video on demand, log on to the official government's website at stmartingov.org. On behalf of the Department of Communication and the Government of St. Martin, I'm Relika Roach, and wishing you a pleasant day further.